Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Rambling Toffee podcast. I'm Mark. I hope everybody is well and doing okay this Monday, and I hope you have a good week. Um, well, how can I start? I have to go back. Is it about 10, 11 days ago, a little bit longer maybe, to the day that the Independent Commission through the Premier League deducted the Everton Football Club 10 points, and the shock and everything that led to that and everything that's gone on since then. I'm still in shock. I'm still baffled by it. I'm still trying to understand why that amount of points, why that deduction was so um, unbelievably high for a punishment that didn't fit the crime and didn't fit what the breach was. The breach was linked to the stadium. I'm not going to go more and more into this because I think everybody else, if you've been on social media over the last so many days, you've seen, read the report. We all know that the Premier League or an independent commission, the Premier League made the rules or changed the rules to fit the narrative and fit what they wanted to do, how they wanted to give us the 10 points. But actually, if you believe beforehand, leaking out to the press that the Premier League wanted us to give us 12 points. And how do you come to 10 points? Yes, there's about you have to you've gone over 19.5 million, so you've got 6 points for for the breach, and then you add the amount 5 million or something like that for the next four other points. Well, it should be really 9 points or whatever in between, not 10. But of course, that was what the Premier League wanted, but the Independent Commission felt that was not right. But they still came to the same conclusion that we should be deducted 10 points. But also, it looks like there's been a pressure coming from the Premier League towards the Commission, which shouldn't be the case because it's supposed to be independent. And that's where also a lot of us as fans are reading or seeing that the people who are on that board have links to the likes of Leeds and the likes of West Ham and everything else in capacity in the past, and it wasn't independent as such. So you could say there's kind of a bit of a bias there, but that was not just that was from what we all read and what we could all understand from at that point in time, and the fact is there was a lot of mitigating circumstances regarding not just the stadium but regarding player X. We all know is Gylfi Sigurdsson, and with the fact with Russia invading Ukraine and was losing around £200 million worth of sponsorship and naming rights for the new stadium and losing that money. So that could have been mitigation. They didn't pay, they take that in. They came up with the thinking that we should have been able to find a way that when that happened to jump into action, that we have a business plan to if that was to happen in any circumstance like that. It happened quite quickly, so we weren't expecting it. So, as much as what I'm going to say, and we all as Everton fans, we've talked through the last few years of Everton Football Club through the board and its owner, and the way that they've spent money and the way they got us in this position that we have been struggling and actually being under an embargo. It felt like from the Premier League that we had to go to them regarding trying bringing players in and all sorts of things like selling players and them being on top of us. So it felt like that they were actually controlling the football club in some form or another. But in all honesty, the previous board and the owner, who's currently still with us, they've got us into that position, and we deserve, in a sense of the word, we deserve a breach. We have broke rules in one sense, for what's happened over the years that we've been in the mire that we've been in. So in a sense of the word, but it the actual punishment doesn't fit the crime what we've with these 10 points deduction, but there should be some sort of financial sanction. There should be more a sanction against the owner, I believe, not against the club. not against the players, not against the fans, the people who we are being punished for something that is not in our control, and it's not very helpful in that set of circumstances. So at the moment, since that days, you know, as much as the anger that I felt and all the fans felt, I believe, the anger we felt, we needed to do something. We needed to get things going, and it was fantastic at 1878. The guys who organised the banners and everything around the stadium for home games to generate an atmosphere to get everybody, everybody into, yeah, get everything going for a start of each home game that we have. They mobilised. There's only a few of them mobilised. Got a GoFundMe page, and we raised over 40 grand. It's amazing. I donated some money myself to it, and of course, because I thought it was rightful cause to do, and it's been fantastic. And I want to put it out to the 1878, but I also want to put it out to the Fab. I've said in a video that they've teething problems last season, which you couldn't expect, but they've come right to the top. And I think, as I mentioned, it unified. I think straight from the bat, it unified us. I think as a fan base, and you can see that when I talk more about the protests yesterday, and before the game, and also in the stadium, as before the game started and so forth. I'll come to that in a bit. But mobilised, got a GoFundMe page, and they started going to action. And I want to put out there to the Fab, got Dave Kelly and many others who I probably can't remember names and everything else, but the work that everybody put an effort in to communicate, to put seminars on, to get everybody involved through social media or not social media, putting it out there to the masses. I want to put it out to the local media as well, who promoted and pushed this out there and got it, as much like Joe Thomas and, many other journalists who, really came to town and supported it. It got, as gradually as the few days went on and each day went on, it grew and grew and grew. We started getting more coverage nationally, and started to mobilise further in that, and also, of course, with Parliament as well, and with MPs putting their amendment in and wanting to actually get it discussed at Parliament level to start the process of actually rescinding or suspending these points until such time that the independent regulator will come in. Hopefully, that will be discussed more in Parliament, and we will see hopefully soon enough before the general election. Hopefully, it will be absolutely fantastic if it did. That that will be in place. I At the moment I don't have names to the MPs. There's been quite a few who have actually signed, to actually put this out there and put it to Parliament and to start to get that moving. So we'll see how that pans out over the coming weeks. Of course, we as fans, there was, what could we do? We knew what we can do yesterday and what was organised by 1878. The Fab being part of that, Dave Kelly, I'll put him out there because he's been fantastic. Not speaking at the Winslow, and John Blaine, who you see on Toffee TV, he spoke wonderfully, and it, and the other speakers are there as well who get let's get this going, let's work. We need all the help we can to mobilise, to get these protests done, get them right, get them in the right place, and nail it. And what we saw yesterday, you know, I'll talk about the actual game, but yesterday, despite the result, it was amazing the sound, and it was the togetherness that all fans had one focus, one thing only. Yes, we've had the financial issues from the board, and we've demonstrated and protested about that last season, and we've seen a change within that. At the moment, we still got the takeover scenario. If it's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know at the moment. If it'll take place or not, we'll see. But at the moment our focus is to, this has become like our focus to get not just behind the team and behind the players, behind the manager, behind the club itself, but also, we've been wronged here. We will not be moved, and we will actually get together like we did yesterday, and we will protest, and we'll do it peacefully, and we'll do it the best way we possibly can. And what we saw was, I've got videos, I have posted them out there. Please have a look. There's probably hundreds of out there on social media and YouTube and anywhere else of the uh, the atmosphere war protest uh, before the game. Walking to the stadium was absolutely amazing. It was thousands of people holding up the. I was including that with my mates, and we put in it. We got right behind it, and I think it got everybody in that mood. But in that stadium, it was the sea of the banners of the posters that we all had all the way around the stadium. I did see a few United fans with holding them up, but I think there wasn't that many, to be honest with you. But it was like amazing, and when the Premier League music was being played and the guys were coming out with the boards and everything else to set up and the Premier League logo and everything else, it was like everybody booing and whistling that for about 30, 40 seconds or even longer than that. And it was so deafening, I had to turn my hearing aid down because it was so loud. And it was great to see people around me who I never thought would actually have the actual poster and the Premier League corrupt sign and putting them up and actually going with like everybody else. And that just proves the point that it's not just a minority, like some sections of the national media or want to entail on certain fans or of other clubs who still put the banter out there. I think, oh, you cheated, you know, you deserve what you're getting and everything else. But in reality, as I said before, a lot of people said the punishment doesn't fit the crime. But yesterday, it was so amazing to be a part of that and feeling that we're getting what we want out of there. It's getting the coverage that it needs. I know Sky Sports did kind of show bits of it. I know Gary Neville actually mentioned it as well in the coverage that they did, but it was on American um, TV channels. It's been discussed by everybody and anybody within, in the media, and it's getting a lot of traction from it. But we have to keep on top of it because I think I'll go into the game in a minute, but we have to keep on top of it going into the next few games until I don't think even until we find out if we get our points rescinded or whatever happens, we need to keep on top of it because things have to change. The independent regulator needs to come in. It needs to happen sooner rather than later. It needs to hold the Premier League to an account because I just feel that the six football clubs, the Sly Six, they are bullying the Premier League, and it feels also they are bullying the 14 other clubs, and it feels like there is no power for the other 14, and they are not allowing. There is a vote and everything else that you have on all these sort of things that they have, but it just feels like who's telling who's saying, well, you need to do this. Oh, if you punish Manchester City, if I know you've charged us with these breaches, but if you charge us and if you do dirt, dirt and dirt, we will leave, because as much as we've not heard of the Super League, it's still out there somewhere. They've been very quiet at the moment, but that will reappear at some point, and all it takes is the Premier League or whatever to actually not like whatever they do or whatever being sanctioned for something, and they'll say we don't want to be a part of this. Off you go, and it could, and the other clubs will go with it. They're waiting for that moment, and I believe the Six are just waiting for that moment for the Super League to come back in and to have a better details or better terms and conditions of how they were going to play in Europe and how it's going to fit and whatever else. But we'll see. I don't know. That's just me speculating, but it's still out there. And if you think about the Champions League, it feels like a Super League in some form. The Premier League, as much as it has relegation and you have another 14 clubs to play, it feels like it's just a little. It's like it just feels like the six clubs, um, and they always seem to be the six clubs that will always win the league, and they'll always be at the top end of the table. They'll always get into the Champions League. They'll always get the opportunities to do so, and it's not competitive enough. It needs to be an even playing field for everybody and be more competitive, um, for every other club to have an opportunity to at least challenge. I know at the moment you can see it with Aston Villa, who are a great club, and they've got a right manager, they've got right players, and they're doing really well at the moment. But other than that, if you look at besides Aston Villa, it seems to be it's the usual clubs that are up there, and something has to give. Um, Something that we need this independent regulator to come in and actually regulate the top of the game, not just the top of the game, but the whole of the English game, and actually, put it back on an even footing and to sort it out. Not just with it has to be with dodgy owners. We've got one, but with owners of football clubs who want to come in and and think that they can just use it as a toy, and and something needs to be set up regarding the financial fair play and how it works and how it needs to, if clubs are struggling or clubs are in issues, how you can help the club to get back on an even keel, not to punish the club. And this is what's happened. It's easy. What's happened here is that we have a stadium that is nearly built. We and everything about it is about mitigation, and keep on going back to this. And I will just say that we have gone back in this direction. Is that if the Premier League for a period of time were trying to help Everton get back into a even field and actually get us our losses down and get us back into a position that at least we are starting not losing money every year on our accounts, but to actually increase revenue coming in and money coming in. And if they did help, and it seems to be that's the case, but it seems to be over the last since the investigation, since we have been told, we had been investigation for a breach, they should have been helping us further. But they started to change the rules and they started to move things around, and it seems to be because of the independent regulator, and they felt that they don't think that they need an independent regulator, that they can do everything themselves, and they now decided that we're going to prove that we're going to prove that we can do our job and we can deal with clubs that have had financial issues and with owners issues and everything about it. We're going to do something about it, and they've done that. And basically, instead of being balanced with it, and actually thought, well, you know we have to punish you, but we can do it this way or whatever. But no, and this is where we're at. So yesterday, as I mentioned, to the 1878 Dave Kelly, everybody else, John Blaine, anybody else that has been part of this organising and putting it all together, what we saw yesterday, kudos to you. And long may it continue, until we're in a position, but that we may be okay and going in the right pathway. But it's something has to give, and we'll see as time goes on. I want to, shout out to Andy Burnham, who put out an absolutely fantastic letter to the Premier League, and everything he says is absolutely nailed on. If you haven't had a chance, go on social media, put search for Andy Burnham, and you'll see the actual letter that he sent out to the Premier League. He thinks that there is, it needs to be nil and void the points, because it's not right what they've done. They've actually set it up as they've changed the rules as the investigation goes on, and there's a lot of discrepancy in the commission's report to what even the Premier League have actually said regarding it. So we'll see how that pans out. So it's great that he's on board. Well, he will. I know he's an Evertonian, but I think he can see, the problem, also the issues that are taking place, and the feeling that everything about this is wrong. And he also, like everybody else, agrees that we have there is an issue there, but it should be done in a better way, and it should have been a better way to not just punish us, but also to help for future, and to get us back into a position that it won't happen again. If it does happen again, yes, you can put points deductions at you. That's how it should work, but it's not at this moment in time. It shouldn't be that case because it's a first punishment, and that's that's where you should go from first. You should step by step, and I'll just mention I can go before I start talking about the Everton United game. I'll just talk about finally, the six who wanted to break away 2 years ago. That you know it was like, oh yes, they made this really they breached the rules, and it was a really bad one because they were going to break away. It was going to destroy the whole of the complexity of the pyramid of football, and that's why the independent regulator was muted at that point, and that's why it's going in this direction at the moment. That hopefully we'll see one. And the fact that they only got fines, and they were able to sit down and negotiate what punishment they were going to get, and it's pocket change, 3 million, whatever, for each club, mounting to 22 million. And it was just like, oh, there you go, that's it. But they were able to sit down and negotiate with the Premier League or the FA for their punishment. That is wholly wrong, and it was never called out. We probably called out by the fans who saw that, but it wasn't called out by media in general, because as soon as they backed down and did that, it just went, nobody questioned it, except fans questioned it. But nobody, no journalists, no media of that, nobody challenged that and said, that's wholly wrong. There should be more of a punishment. Just because they put on the end of it that if you do it again, you'll get 30-point deductions and so on. So you see, they did it that way. That's a rule. So you say you broke the rules, you're being fined, but if you do it again, this will happen to you and it will increase. So if that is the rule they put in place, what you should have done with Everton is that you broke the rule, you should be punished, you're going to be fined for this amount of money, whatever it may be. And if you do it again, you'll get points deducted. And you're told that that's what's going to happen. Then the club goes, right, okay, we accept that. And then you move on. But also, those rules need to be in paper form that all clubs in the Premier League who are stakeholders can read that, see what it is. This is what's going to happen to any one of you that breach financial fair play rules, breach everything, breach rules within the Premier League. That if that happens, this is what's going to happen to you. And everybody signs and agrees to it, and everybody votes for it, and it's fine. It's all in law. It's like in law. Everything's there set up. You all know it. You all understand it. You all accept it. But this is why it's different now for Everton, is because this rule is like it's just been created just for Everton and nobody else. And that's where it's wholly wrong about how it has come to this decision. And that's why I think in time, I feel it might get rescinded completely, and we're back to what we had beforehand. Our 10 points might come back. I know I've said we might get deducted back to 6 points and maybe got reduced. I don't know if the club have put an appeal in. I've not heard anything yet. I know something after they put an appeal in, let me know. So anyway, so that's that. This went on a bit long. So, well, after all that, we had a matter of a game against Manchester United. Well, all that momentum and everything else within 3 minutes. Canacho scored an absolute fantastic goal. From any fan on vantage point, doesn't matter who you support. That was just an absolute fantastic goal, and it kind of knocked us off. And it took us a while to come back into the game. I felt the referee was shocking in the first half. It felt like the Premier League had been on the phone to the referee and said not to give him anything. It felt like that. It felt corrupt in so many ways. Some of the decisions, the fact that we've had bookings and everything else. Um, and for me, it was that we came back into the game. We created more opportunities. We had, I don't know how many chances we had, a few actually, but we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And it was like watching deja vu again. It was like watching Fulham and Wolves, where we created lots of opportunities, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And back then, we didn't have a striker. This time we had DCL playing, and he was off the boil a bit. DCL to an extent yesterday. He was got on certain things, but not all of them. I thought Dwight McNeil had a poor game. I don't know if his injury that he had before the start of the season is still hampering him, but he was really off the pace. I think the midfield missing Anana might have been another issue as well. It was just we first half we were getting in positions, we were doing it. If they'd gone in them goals, it might have been a very different football match in the second half. And I said to somebody next to me that you know what's going to happen because it's like watching what we have, as I mentioned, other games that we've seen this season at home. Is that we created all these opportunities. We should have bagged one or two of them, and you just knew what was going to happen in the second half. We came out second half cold, and it was like, why? It's like deja vu. Couldn't get going again, and then the penalty. Ashley Young again. Okay, it went to VAR and was given, and it was a penalty. He put his foot there and basically went over it. What do you expect's going to happen? And it just killed us off completely, that second goal. And we could talk about Sean Dyche should have changed it earlier, but Danjuma coming on, Patterson coming on, and then Schmidt later on. But it was like the game was over. And we did create other opportunities, Mikalenko at the bar, and we did get in positions, but it was too late. I think the impact had been given. I think we put all that effort in the first half when we went one down so early on, and everything behind that. But second half it kind of limped, and it was like all that momentum we put in as fans to get behind the team as well as what we were doing and everything about that. I think in the end it was just like just hit us again. It just felt like are we going to get any kind of positivity? A week, months. Are we going to get it? And we had it against Palace, and momentum was there, playing well, full of confidence going into an international break, and it just like petered away. And I don't know from my own personal view that the 10-point deduction, as much as the players were together and we're going to go out there and put an effort in and a shift in and we're going to work hard and you know really commit and improve to the Premier League, that you're not going to get us while we're down. Well, I think psychologically, I think it's had a hit. And the fact is that when you've got a team that have worked so hard to get back into a position where we're away from the relegation, playing okay, going in the right pathway, and everything going in that way, and you get deducted points like that, and as much as they might feel that we're going to prove a point and be committed, it must knock them back. It knocked us back. It knocked us back when we went down. When we saw we were in the bottom three, we psychologically we just got hit ourselves. And I think with players, it's probably the same thing. But second half performance was what it was, and I think I don't know why I just felt accepting of it and just move on. We've got Forest next, and we need to put a performance in there and prove a point that we can get some points back on the board. Um, you know, we just have to keep on playing the way we are. Um, yeah, so for me, we move on. We go into Forest. We've got Forest, and then I think we've got Newcastle coming up. We've got Chelsea coming up. We've got of course, the Carabao Cup. We've got a lot of games coming up throughout December. So we need to get as many points as we possibly can, and we need to show that commitment. But with the squad so thin at the moment, and not having that kind of change. as I mentioned, with McNeil going off and bringing Danjuma on, he's not played many games, so he's going to have to get up to speed. Patterson came on. I've got a feeling that because Ashley Young continually makes mistakes, I can see Seamus starting. And if Seamus starts in the next game against Forest, I would be very. I think Nathan Patterson needs to look at his what he thinks about playing for Everton Football Club, because if Ashley Young, who is 38, is being replaced by somebody who's 33, 34, or he, he's asking, well, when am I going to get my chance, an opportunity to? Is he is Sean Dyche not giving him any opportunity? But then again, he did come on for Ashley Young yesterday, but we'll see what happens against Forest. Hopefully, Anana's back, and we can go from there. It'll be a tough game because Forest are, as much as Brighton beat them, they are still a tough nut to crack. So it's going to be a tough game, but we'll see how that pans out. Anyway, a little bit longer than advertised this podcast today. I'll be doing a video about my views of yesterday's game and everything about the protests and everything else on video at some point this week. And just keep an eye out for that. Anyway, on that note, I think that's everything I want to say today. I hope everybody has a good week, positively. Let's keep on pushing the Premier League. Let's keep on doing what we're doing. Let's get behind the club. Let's get behind the team. Let's keep on pushing, because hopefully we'll get something positive at the end of it. Let's keep going. And then on that note, have a good week, and I'll speak to you soon. This is the Rambling Toffee signing out. Bye bye.